In a considerable alteration from its neutral stand in 2018, the Modi government has now firmly backed the review of the Supreme Court's Sabrimala verdict, urging restoration of the traditional bar on women of menstruating age from entering the Kerala shrine, with Solicitor General Tushar Mehta arguing that courts cannot reform religion by judicial decree and that constitutional morality cannot override faith based practices protected under Articles 25 and 26. The government also says that secular courts lack the religious competence to test the rationality of a deity's attributes or denominational customs, and that the framers of the Indian Constitution intended morality to mean public or societal morality, not the vague doctrine of constitutional morality, according to them. Also, they argue that the original Sabrimala case itself represents how public interest litigation has strayed from access to justice into a tool for ideological intervention in matters of religion. Welcome to The Print. I am Ruchi Bhattar, and in this video, let's take a closer look at why the central government has argued before the Supreme Court in the Sabrimala case, supporting the ban on menstruating women entering Kerala's Sabrimala temple. The hearings of the review petition of the 2018 Sabrimala verdict are underway in the Supreme Court of India now, essentially a 9-judge bench examining the question whether the top court's 5-judge bench was right in lifting the ban imposed on menstruating women of 10 to 50 years from entering the shrine of Lord Ayappa in Kerala's Sabrimala Hill. This is via the 7 questions it has framed on the interplay of faith, gender, and constitutional rights in India. This case also includes the question of entry of Muslim women into mosques, the practice of female genital mutilation in the Dawoodi Bohra community, and the right of Parsi women who marry outside the community to enter fire temples. The submissions by the center also include that Hindi version of the constitution should be considered while interpreting the text. And if there is any ambiguity in the interpretation, more weightage should be given to the Hindi text, which they say is the correct interpretation of the constitution in the Indian way. One of the 7 questions the bench will answer is about the scope and extent of the word morality under Articles 25 and 26 of the Indian Constitution, and whether it is meant to include constitutional morality at all. Before we look at what exactly is the central government arguing while supporting the ban, it is also important to know that during the 2018 case proceedings, where the Supreme Court by a 4-1 verdict held that the ban was unconstitutional, the central government with the same political party in power had maintained a relatively neutral stance, leaving the decision to the wise wisdom of the court. 8 years down the line, their position has significantly altered, with the formal support to reviewing the 2018 judgment and, in fact, urging for the restoration of the traditional restrictions. On the question regarding the scope of right to freedom of religion under Article 25 of the Indian Constitution, the government argues that if a religion or a religious practice requires any social welfare measure or even reform, it must emanate from within the religion or from within the society and cannot be imposed by judicial dictum or the opinion of any judge presiding over the court. The government also believes that the very fact that the constitution left social welfare and reform to the state legislature inevitably shows that the court is not entitled to exercise its jurisdiction in any manner, either for any social welfare measure or to reform a religion, its subsect, different tenets within the same religion, and denomination of which a person is a part of faith or belief, or any one of them. Next, on the query of the interplay between freedom of religion rights under Article 25 and rights of religious denomination or a section of it under Article 26 of the Indian Constitution, the centre is of the opinion that in the 2018 Sabrimala judgment, all 3 opinions not only wrongly declared Ayappan devotees not to fall within the definition of denomination, but failed to even deal with the expression or a section thereof. It says that when it comes to the court dealing with 2 competing fundamental rights, within the same fundamental right, one competing right cannot completely yield the other one. Noting the existence of pluralism within religions and intra-religious diversity in India, the government believes that Articles 25 and 26, while protecting religion, religious practice, and affairs relating to the matters of religion, they also permit state interventions on the grounds mentioned in Article 25, Part 2. Crucially, when it came to the question of morality, under Article 25 and 26 and the inclusion of constitutional morality, the government believes that the framers of the constitution always intended the term morality as used in 25 as societal morality or public morality, and all judgments hinging on constitutional morality should be declared bad in law. Now, historically, judgments emanating from the constitutional morality have been some landmark ones, like the decriminalization of adultery and homosexuality in 2018 by the Supreme Court itself, and even the 2018 Sabrimala judgment. It also believes that the constitutional morality is a vague concept and the subject of political science, a political doctrine that was never envisaged either by Dr. Ambedkar or the Constituent Assembly members as a judicial principle to be applied when understanding the word morality in the Constitution. The government also warns against the usage of foreign judgments in Indian jurisprudence. It notes that constitutional courts in India are not conferred with religious jurisdiction and do not possess the expertise and knowledge to decide such religious questions, which is why, even though they are the protectors of fundamental rights, courts cannot embark upon an exercise of examining and eventually adjudicating religious issues. A Hindu deity is recognized in Indian law as a juristic person, a legal subject capable of owning property, suing, or being sued, and holding endowments in the same name. The consequence of recognizing the deity as a juristic person in the position of a perpetual minor carries an implication, according to the government, that just as a court of law cannot sit in judgment upon personal attributes, choices, or preferences of a minor on the ground that they are irrational, it equally cannot sit in judgment upon the personal or peculiar attributes of a deity on a criterion of rationality. The Sabrimala temple is dedicated to Lord Ayyappan in the unique form of Nashtika Brahmachari, one who has taken a permanent and unalterable vow of celibacy. The restriction on the entry of women of childbearing age is directly connected to this attribute and is the religious group's expression of requirement that the specific devotional environment at Sabrimala is consistent with the nature of the deity as worshipped. The government therefore submits that the secular courts process does not have a competence to answer rationality attached to such deity before deciding the constitutional issue. Last and most importantly, the central government believes that time has come to remove public interest litigation as a jurisdictional exception and restore the ordinary principles of the locus standi, noting how the culture has metastasized into a general license for ideological, political, and denominationally hostile litigation. The PIL jurisdiction was judicially strengthened in 1981 by the Supreme Court, which gave it a legal definitive framework for its ruling that any member of the public acting in good faith could approach the court for those who were by reason of poverty, helplessness, or disability unable to approach the court for relief. The Supreme Court relaxed the traditional rule of locus standi, which requires a petitioner to have a personal stake in a case to ensure that fundamental rights reached the weaker sections of Indian humanity. While the PIL jurisdiction was born to provide access to justice for those unable to reach the courts due to poverty or disability, the Centre says it has instead become a vehicle for agenda driven litigation and institutional overreach. It submitted that India's current position, where any member of the public can challenge any law without demonstrating personal injury and in public interest, is a global constitutional anomaly and not found in any other major democracy. This is essential in the context of this case, as the original 2006 petition by the Indian Young Lawyers Association, among others, which the Centre cites as the prime example of misuse, a PIL filed by persons with no personal stake, it says, representing no identifiable class of inaccessible victims against a practice they did not follow in respect of a deity they did not worship. The government also contends that this evolution has led to a catastrophic expansion of docket, with PIL's filing jumping from roughly 25,000 in 1985 to 70,000 in 2019. What began as a challenge to one temple practice has now grown into a much larger constitutional battle over faith, gender, judicial power, and future of public interest litigation in India. And when the Supreme Court of India finally answers these questions, its ruling may shape not just who gets to worship inside the Sabrimala temple, but the limits of how constitution engages with religion itself. With that, thank you for watching.